NVIDIA and Intel have been making the news lately. And Intel first, there was an interest in the US of buying it. Has now the range is from 4 to 4.25%. And this has been the first cut since December 2024. Valued stocks among also the high valuation of the equity market in the US. Hello, everyone. Welcome to one more episode here at Inon Capital podcast. Today, we're gonna go a bit through what has been happening in the markets, in the economy, and the latest financial information that must be interesting for everyone to be on top of it. No, so I think the most interesting news that came out recently has been the Fed rate cut, right? So the Federal Reserve decided to cut 25 basis points in their September meeting. It has now the range is from 4 to 4.25%, and this has been the first cut since December 2024. Also, if you look at the dot plots, you'll see that there is also, comparing to June, there's been even a stance of cutting more. They expect 50 basis points of cuts in the last two meetings of the year. So we're going to end the year with another 50 basis point cut. That's the expectation. And they also increased 1/4 rate cut, 1/4 point for the next year in 2026. Apart from that, Fed Chairman Jeremy Powell mentioned that despite these cuts and the political and the monetary stance, they also are very concerned, especially he is very concerned about the highly valued stocks among also the high valuation of the equity market in the US. And the next cuts will also be decided based on the data, the economic data that will be coming out. No? So the resilience of the economy, if the unemployment rises or not, and at the same time, if they're seeing that there is any market shock that might make their decision go one way or the other. No. Apart from that, we have been seeing also a lot of movement in the equity markets. The equity markets have been up lately, especially if we go to the small cap stocks in the US, the Russell 2000, it just record high as well. That it hasn't been as high as it went over its top in 2021. Apart from that, in the technology sector, we have been seeing a lot of movements there in the semiconductor space. NVIDIA and Intel have been making the news lately. And Intel first, there was an interest in the US of buying a 10% stake in Intel. Then NVIDIA also announced that it would buy an important percentage of Intel and invest on it to get it running and making a company that it will be more interested in the future. And that has kept investors into entering the stocks and motivated them to make the stock has its highest one-day rally since the 1980s. No? So that's very, very interesting on that side. If we go to commodities, the gold has also been making headlines again. The gold is over 40% this year-to-date return, and this month of September has been no different. No. Gold continues to thrive, and it has been the safe haven that has been also benefiting from the devaluation of the dollar, which is a good tailwind for them. But at the same time, there's a lot of demand from central banks. No? Going to the economic side, the unemployment rate in the US went 4.3%, which is higher than we have been seeing lately, but still not a very negative sign. No? I think that the economy, although it has been decelerating the number of employment, the economic activity still hasn't shown a very worrisome moment. No? The PMI, manufacturing and services PMI in the US, and if you look at the composite, it still is very strong, and there still shows signs of, if you go to the US retail sales, for example, it still has signs of robustness. No? Now going into the expectations for the next upcoming weeks, there's going to be a lot of interesting data coming out, especially on the inflation side. It's something that has to be monitored. We're still going to get it by the end of this September, the PCE data. And that's a very important inflation gauge for the Fed, and see how that's going to turn out to know if it's going to be higher than expected or if it's going to be maintained at the same level. The CPI this month came at 2.9 in the US, which was closer, a bit higher than expected. And well, in the contrast to the European side, where the EU inflation rate went down to 2%. No, so it was first shown as 2.1, and now it's 2% in the European Union. So that's in line with the target. But in the US, it's still to see. So that's why it's very important to be on top of the core PCE data that's coming out at the end of the month. There's also very interesting guidances on the tech side that we should be watching and seeing how, if this robustness in the technology sector is going to continue going forward, or is it just a moment on the AI thesis. There's been a lot of news as well with NVIDIA investing a big chunk of its capital into OpenAI. All of that are news that are behind this growth of the equity market, especially the technology sector. It has to be seen if it's going to be maintained going forward. No. Apart from that, if we look at fixed income markets, there has been a very interesting movement in the 10-year. It went up, even though the Fed cut the rate, the interest rates. And if you look at the 2-year or the shorter part of the curve, it has gone down. So really, there is a steepening. There's a important steepening in the U.S. Sovereign curve, and we have to see if that's continue to be the case in the future, or if we can see a bit of a relief on the longer side of the curve. So I think those are the most interesting points and updates that we want to share with you. Keep watching our videos, because we're sure we'll be posting more news and more commentaries on this volatile market. Thank you. Subscribe, and we'll keep you posted.
The opinions expressed on this podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the values, ideals, or positions of Inon Capital.